lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by a whole bunch of people after the last live show ended abruptly on the recording, so I'm going to hopefully take up the reins wherever we left off, and you can enjoy the dulcet tones of the after show. And there's no live show for me to set up, thank God, so I'll pass over to whoever is in there and you can enjoy their conversation.
To get a 10-second clip. So I have to put that thing out there at
You
night,
there, Neil?
hit the button, wait 2.5 hours, and then it renders a 10-second star trail, as you see on the videos that everyone does, as well as myself. All right, so is it because the Earth is moving that I get star trails? Or is it the Earth is motionless and the stars are moving? That's a very simple question, and it's easy to answer. I think Chocolate has the answer. If a drone goes up above the non-inertial reference frame, the Earth moving, what happens, Chocolate?
Well, according to their nonsense, two things should happen. The Earth should start rotating underneath that drone, and whatever's in the sky should stop moving due to the story of those things moving because we're on a spinning ball. Well, that drone's not on a spinning ball.
Beautiful.
Except for the moon.
Except for the moon, yeah.
Yeah, the moon should be moving.
Hang on, Chocolate had a very good answer. So as the drone lifts off the spinning Earth, we should see China coming onto us, but it's not. And we should not see stars moving, but they do.
Right.
So therefore,
maybe not necessarily China, but whatever's west of you should be coming towards you. Definitely, yes.
well, west of me is China, so.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Okay. So west of me is China. I'll probably see Japan first. All right. So the point is, that's not happening. So if it's not happening, and the whole idea of star trail photography is that you got to have a stable mount for your camera, because I've actually jarred my camera before and I had to restart it. And when I saw that real quick video that I stopped, you can see a sideways motion. We never see that when you're doing star trail. It's just beautiful. It's just one beautiful motion. It's not caused by two movements, but just one. The stars are moving. You would have a sideways streak as well, but you don't. It's so obvious.
Yeah, it would be a distorted view. It wouldn't be a beautiful view. It would be a blur.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you see cityscapes in the star trail mode or time lapse mode. We wouldn't say star trail for cityscapes, and they show freeways with different end roads. One coming this angle, another like an overpass, and you see the tail lights and the front lights, obviously red and white, and you can see them going in the direction that the cars are going. But the bridges are steady. The buildings don't move. They're not streaking at all because the Earth is not moving. But whatever is moving creates the streak.
Yeah, exactly.
It's proof positive. That's why I love star trails as a proof.
Well, light is leaving behind something. You know, if you have a light, the back light of your car on, you're driving away, then that light will be seen when that car has left that little position. So that little bit of light that's coming off the lights, that's the whole point of lights. You can see them, you know what I mean? And then it gives a light. You know, if you stand at the back of your car with the reverse lights on and you're 5 foot back, that red light will be on your legs.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
But go to the greater point I'm trying to say here. If now my tripod is moving because the Earth is moving, what would happen to those lights? It would have a streak towards the motion of the movement. But it doesn't.
Yeah, it would be weird.
No, it doesn't. I mean, when you see landscapes and cityscapes.
I've got a. Sorry, Tom. I was going to say.
I'll just round it up.
Yeah,
go ahead. No, I'm just saying that things that don't move are in focus. Only things that move leave trails. So if the camera on the tripod moved, it would create a trail in the direction you move your camera and tripod, or like me, when I bumped it, it went in the direction of the bump. It never happens because the Earth is not moving. That's it. It's so simple.
I kind of have a good example of this, actually. There's a dude in 24/7 that was doing star trails with his P900. And he said while he was getting, I don't know how many minutes of it he got, but while he was taking the star trails, he had a helicopter fly over the footage, right? Or over the camera, I should say. And the helicopter made a completely straight line while the trail, you could see the straight line, and I posted it in Master B if somebody wants to share
I'll
it
put
or
it
something.
up. It's on
But
screen.
I thought it was a good example because
it's on
you
screen
got
for
the
the
star
audience.
trails in the back. I'm sorry, Nathan. Is Nathan, you saying something?
It's the audience listening to you can also see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so basically you got the star trails in the back, and then you got that straight line that's coming from a light made by a helicopter, or from a helicopter. So I think I can't say for certain how long, obviously, the helicopter was in frame, but you would think if the Earth is what's spinning, that helicopter line would not be straight. That line would be trailing just like the star trails. So you got two effects going on in the same picture. I think that kind of that's bad for them because that should not be happening. If the same cause is due to the Earth rotating, well, isn't that helicopter above the Earth too? So
I saw something else. Sorry, go on. I talk after you, Ken.
No, it's all right. I said you saw the video, right, Chocolate? Because you commented. So you see that the planes leave a trace too, but they're not going in the same direction as the stars, right?
exactly.
And then I'm going to post a picture for Nathan to show where you're going to see planes taking off and landing and the star trail all at the same time. But everything that's not moving is in focus. So hold on, I'll put that in Master B. This is just one of many that you can find on YouTube. I'm sorry, on the internet. Here we go. So, Master B. Go ahead, Brian.
I just say my little piece while I'm waiting, okay, Ken?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's only a small bit. I saw a very short video of a girl who took the sky into our view of our camera and made the Earth move as opposed to the sky. And as the camera made it seem like we were turning around, I started getting nauseous. I had to turn it off.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for this thing to download. For some reason, it's taking long.
Because we would feel it. That's another thing. My kids would be throwing up all over the place if we were moving because they got motion sickness.
Excellent proof.
Yeah.
I get that one down.
That's proof right there. All right.
Has anyone used
even
the
just the visual on this
example of
video
a swimming
made me feel
pool
nauseous.
and a drain?
Okay, Nathan. It's up, Nathan. Go ahead, put it up whenever.
Just before you do, though, go ahead, Roscoe, and then we'll come picture 10 now.
I just remember someone a while ago used an argument on me saying that a swimming pool with a small lake at the bottom of it proves the Earth's turning. Yeah.
Are they asserting that the rotation of the water swirling down would be an effect of 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth rotates underneath? Is that what the assertion would be?
Yeah. But I can't
Sounds like a
them.
presupposition.
I'll
Yeah,
just do,
I know that's what it
Neil.
was, but I'm just wondering if anyone else has used that argument.
Yes, lots of people. So water swirling down a drain is an actual spin direction, whereas Coriolis effect is you rotating and watching something not rotating with you seem to drift. So unless you were swirling down in the swimming pool with that rotating whirlpool going down the hole, and you look up at the side and see, say, a life jacket attached to a pole, and go, "Oh, look, that life jacket seems to be coming towards me." It's not. I'm just spinning down a whirlpool. That would be Coriolis. But you looking at it spinning down, that's an actual spin direction that you're observing, as opposed to you being part of a spinning reference frame, which is what Coriolis is. But it's not an example of Coriolis.
Might as well go back to the toilet flush.
Same thing.
It's just
Yeah, I think I told
here's
them
the
like
problem.
do the same test, but do like 5 or 6 different times. I'm pretty sure the direction of the whirlpool won't be the same.
But that's not the point. Coriolis effect is you observing from a spinning reference frame. So it'd be you looking at something on a roundabout, for example. That's Coriolis. You observing, not actual drift. But if you're observing actual spin direction, like a hurricane or water going down the toilet, that's an actual spin direction you're observing. Well, Coriolis is you being on a spinning platform, observing something not on a spinning platform. That's what Coriolis is. So this example is not Coriolis. Nothing to do with Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour, in other words.
Yeah, mate, I should have added that one of their arguments was that the direction of the whirlpool was the same as the Earth spinning direction, which I can't work out how they worked that out. But yeah, they were trying to tell me that each time they would do that, the water will turn in the same direction because that's the direction the Earth is turning.
Yeah, it's a really childish apprehension of how Coriolis is asserted with the globe, and it's just wrong because it isn't Coriolis. But yeah, I've heard that too. You know, people will try and show you demonstrations and claim that water spins down one side of the equator one way and the other the other, but that's just a begging the question fallacy with a baseless assertion fallacy attached to it. So they're assuming Earth's a sphere and that water's going to travel one way on one side of the sphere or one way on the other. Well, that's just an assumption. Anyway, hopefully that answers your question. 10th, I've got you a picture with the, I think is it aeroplanes?
Well, it's got a tree in front.
Yeah, that's the one. There's another one that's just come through as well, but I've got that one up.
Let's go with the tree in front first. So you can see here, this camera has to be on the tripod and it can't be moving, or else the tree would come out blurred, just like if you were taking the picture with your iPhone and someone bumped you. So there's no bump here. It's steady. Camera is steady and it's on the surface of the Earth. But whatever is moving leaves a trail. As you can see, those are airplanes in the sky. And then you see the star trail right behind it. And then you could see that there's a man standing still. And then you can see telephone poles to the right. They're not moving. And then, of course, the light there, those are either cars or something else, but they're moving. So right here, now if you go to the next picture, same thing. You got star trail, you got flight patterns, and you got lights on top of poles that aren't moving. Because the Earth is not moving, or those red lights, or what seems to be red lights on those poles, would leave a streak just like the planes if the Earth was moving. It's
only
over
if the,
right
hold on. Only if the picture was taken from the inertial reference frame they claim, with Earth turning underneath it, with those lights on the ground move. But presumably this camera's fixed to the ground like the lamppost is fixed to the ground. So while I understand, well, your assertion was correct until that point.
What did I say wrong?
That the lights on the ground would also drift. Well, no, unless this is being filmed from a drone and we're in the paradigm of Earth spinning underneath.
Right. My point is the lights on the ground aren't showing drift or movement because the Earth is not turning and the camera is on the Earth.
Yeah, but even if it was, they still wouldn't demonstrate any. It'd be like you being on a roundabout with a light on the edge of each of the poles and you're filming from the roundabout, things not on the roundabout. And your assertion would be to say, well, look, the lights on the roundabout aren't moving. It's like, well, yeah, but their claim is that you're moving with the lights that are physically attached to their non-inertial spinning reference frame.
I see.
Right?
I see. I think what I was trying to say, and I think I see my error. I think what I'm trying to say is if you bump the camera, those lights would show a streak. That's where I was trying to go.
Yes. Okay, fine. Completely agree.
That's why I'm doing my helium test.
How's it linked together? You tell us how this links the two together. Oh, yes, of course, because one would be precisely, yes. feel free to go ahead and explain that if you want, or I will if you don't.
You can explain it. It's a bit noisier. If you
Sure.
understand, I'm sure you
Well,
understand.
if you detach the camera from the non-inertial claim to be spinning reference frame of an Earth that's turning, then, like I just detailed with the lights on the ground, if the camera isn't attached to the ground, it should demonstrate those lights, for example, for the audience's benefit, these ones along the bottom. These lights would move, while the helium balloon, if it's weighted correctly, would stay relatively stationary. But it's claimed Earth turns underneath. Well, the lampposts are attached to Earth, which is turning underneath, so they should drift. And that's what Flatside's going to be doing.
Also, Nathan, another caveat to my stumble. The cars are moving, so you see the car streaking lights. So any movement on a stationary Earth will show a streak. And obviously the lampposts aren't moving,
Right, so the camera's stationary.
just like the light posts.
Right.
Although it's pseudoscience and nonsense, often the ballers will bring up the EQ mount telescope, or they used to bring up the EQ mount telescope and say, how can this work on a flat Earth kind of thing? A couple of years ago, in a it was the first ever presentation I did on Ranties. I showed how the EQ mount telescope, if you do what's known as polar alignment of it, there's two, on the good ones, there's two lenses. One is for looking at the stars and recording them or whatever, or the sun or whatever, and the other one is for polar alignment, which means you align it up with Polaris. And the whole point of it is that you are supposed to be aligned up with Polaris so you get the best, most precise 15 degree an hour of everything else moving that is supposedly stationary, that you're moving in your supposed globe Earth rotation, right? For us, it's just the sky moving. Now, the problem with that is, and how that actually debunks rotation, is that if you polar align the EQ telescope, because I looked into it, it takes about 5 hours on average. It takes a good while to do. But once you do it, and you have it totally aligned up, you can leave that for months at a time, and it will stay aligned to Polaris. Kind of like, you know, the way people used to do, put a pole or put a pipe pointing towards Polaris, a piece of pipe, and 5 or 6 months later, the pipe would still have Polaris in the center of it. Same kind of thing. Well, that debunks any movement of the Earth, as if the Earth is moving at 15 degrees an hour, you can't move that telescope not even 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters forward, back, left, right, or diagonal, and it loses polar alignment. So if that's lining up with Polaris, that has to mean that both the ground it's sitting on and Polaris are totally stationary, and everything else is moving.
Correct.
And I came out with this a couple of years ago, and Sean Hawkins went absolutely ballistic in the chat. And he started saying he wanted a private hangout with me, and it was all this other stuff. I had never talked to the guy before, but I did, not verbally, but I talked to him on comments, but not verbally. But they all made a big thing about it, but then they brushed it underneath the carpet. But it can't be.
Well, you're correct, with the one exception. If you were directly beneath it, with you metaphorically pointing upwards, so if you're looking at it directly, you'd be on your back at the North Pole, right? That would be the example that you could keep it in alignment. But beyond that, how are you going to keep it in alignment? If it's above what they claim is the North Pole at the top of a sphere, and you're filming it from any other location, then it's going to be moving as you move around it, as it's lined up with the top of the sphere. Now, although all of what you've said is correct, whenever it comes to these sorts of claims, it's always good to tie down the globy to what they're actually claiming. So how does an equatorial mount prove that we're on a sphere? Well, like everything, it'll take the form of the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If Earth is a sphere, then my equatorial mount will track the stars thus. My equatorial mount tracks the stars thus, therefore the Earth's a sphere. So they have to formulate it into a fallacy just to make the claim in the first place. But usually they'll reverse the burden of proof and present false dichotomy. How does this work on your model? How does an equatorial work on a flat Earth is what you'll hear, correct, Brian?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So begging the question fallacy, they're going to assume the Earth is a sphere. False dichotomy, they're going to ask you how it compares to your model when compared to their model. And affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy if they were ever to try and phrase it into an actual globe proof. If the Earth is a sphere, my equatorial mount, therefore Earth a sphere.
They actually came back with, they tried to say that Polaris was directly at a 23.5 degree tilt. So it lined up perfectly. They came back with a load of nonsense about how it would work. Now, what they came back with was absolute nonsense. And it basically they had to kind of mutate the sky to make it work, for it to still hold Polaris in the stay aligned with Polaris, the EQ mount. But what they weren't taking into account is that we're supposed to be moving in an offset elliptical orbit of the sun and changing speeds in that orbit constantly, right? Because as per Kepler's analemma.
Yeah, it's a complete joke.
So that destroys it. Even when they try to make it work for one day and then make it happen for every day of the year. But it's impossible because each day we're in a different position according to their belief.
Indeed. It all gets
So
more
correct.
and more farcical the more you look into the heliocentric model, but you've got to be detached from it to be able to look at it in this way, right? So it's very difficult to try and explain that to a globie who's just convinced of his begging the question, I'm right anyway. We are on a sphere, and that's how we observe Polaris. Therefore, there's got to be a way around it. And like you say, they'll end up coming back to you with complete nonsense that doesn't make any sense mathematically or otherwise.
Yeah, they often come up with things like the EQ mount that's supposed to be absolute globe proofs. And when you look into them, it turns out they're not anything but. I did the same with the gyro compass. They all believed that that gravity was involved in how the gyro compass worked, and it had nothing to do with gravity. What they were trying to say is that that the mercury in there's 4 pots that sit around the gyroscope within the gyro compass, and these pots have mercury in the original Mark I Sperry first ever off the presses or whatever gyro compass. And they were stating that the mercury moved from the front pots to the back pots, which created a torque, which created angular momentum. Basically, the whole point was they were claiming it was gravity going from the front pots. I don't have the right word here. Front pots to the back pots due to gravity. The gravity was causing this. Now, with less than an hour's investigation, I found out, now, not that Sperry, the company, were stating this, but I found out how it worked. The gyro compass has a DC current running through it. They have to use DC instead of AC because DC is more constant and it's more reliable for what they want. It doesn't fluctuate. But when mercury interacts with a DC current, it becomes very mildly magnetic. But what mercury does is it repels from a magnetic field. So how they were setting, how the old gyro compasses, the first ones, when they set them up so when they were about to start them, it took about 3 hours to get them started, to get them going, or 4 hours, I think it was. And they set them up so the gyroscope was pointed slightly east of north. So what would happen is, as they'd start up the gyro compass and the gyroscope within it, the DC current would cause the mercury to become slightly magnetic, and the pot on the left hand side, which would be west, would be pointed slightly more towards the north than the east. So what would happen is the mercury would become mildly magnetic due to the DC current running through it, and then it would automatically start moving away from the north magnetic field. So it would start with the left pot, start with the mercury wanting to move from the front pot into the back one, and then that would turn the gyroscope slightly to point exactly north, and then the same thing would be happening simultaneously, although slightly slower, on the right hand pot. But eventually, what would happen is you'd have the mercury at the moving from the front pots to the back pots because of this effect of magnetism with the mercury due to the DC current. And what happens then is it causes a torque and then it's angular and it has angular momentum. I don't have any words right now, but it causes the torque. That's what it does. It causes the torque. And the proof of this, that this is what's happening, and this what I'm talking about here is from a branch of science. I don't know if you can call it science, but I call it science just for explanation. Called magnetohydrodynamics, and that's the same branch of science, let's call it, that are responsible for the railgun. You know, the Navy railgun, they're responsible for that. Sure. So that comes from magnetohydrodynamics. And this is like very simplistic magnetohydrodynamics. And when they moved from that model to Sperry Mark II, they changed from mercury to using oils and other substances. But they had to include pumps then, because it wouldn't work, because the mercury didn't have mercury, so nothing became, the DC current didn't make it magnetic, and it didn't cause whatever was in the front pots to move into the back pots. But they were sure, like all these people on Bob the Science Guy, Blue Marble Science, all these kind of people were absolutely 100% sure, and still are today, that gravity causes that. Well, it wasn't. 1 hour of investigation from a layman, and it was just very simple. It was an effect of magnetism. So
right.
This is what they come out with. I don't know if I explained all that very well, but hopefully
no, you did. You're explaining how they're hijacking an effect of magnetism to attribute gravity in an argument that they're having with you, and it took an hour of research to figure out what the actual mechanisms they're using. And you found the backstory to where they've developed these techniques from in terms of the railgun and its technology. So no, you were perfectly concise. I don't know why you apologise.
I know. It's even worse than that, because they actually don't even know, and most of Sperry people work for Sperry don't even know, because someone who was with FE Core spoke to someone in that company, and he was told by this guy that he didn't know how it worked. It just did. So a lot of people think it's just gravity. They don't even people that work for Sperry, they don't know any different. But it's just an effect of magnetism.
It's a magical word. It's a very useful magical word that they can invoke whenever they've got a little tricky issue that needs a force of some description. Well, they can just invoke this force of gravity, which isn't a force, but they can invoke it whenever they like. They've been told by George Musa. They can think of it as a force, Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's good to know that a flat earther in 1 hour took apart their argument.
Nor is it surprising.
I got that. Nor is you got that. I've been dying to say it.
Nor is it surprising how convoluted their claim would have to be to make this assertion, and the begging the question fallacy they have to employ when it comes to any little tricky details about the claim, i.e. gravity. So, yeah, it's another example of them just begging the question, Brian. It's a good example, because they'll use it when it's, not like all of them, a weak-ass argument. But they'll assert it like it's the most dogged proof of gravity in this example, and you just have to take a bit of cursory actual research and you find how wrong they are. And that's the problem, isn't it? Because it didn't take you that long, right? And that's when Tommy comes into this, saying, yeah, it was me that was fooled. I feel very foolish, or whatever he said. And you go, yeah, well, that's because had you have actually done some proper research, even if it was just a cursory glance in the case of Brian in this example, it doesn't take you long to figure out what the people in the trenches are asserting is A, wrong, and B, is in no way proving a spherical surface beneath your feet.
Isn't it interesting that we started the show with 1/50th millionth of the gravity portion? We're right here towards the end. We're back to it.
Yeah.
The second claim about the gyro compass, because this is often used as well, this is a much more simple one to explain, was that it was rotating in the opposite. It precessed in the opposite direction to the rotation of the Earth. So the Earth is supposed to be rotating west to east. It precessed east to west, right? This is the claim. Now, precession only happens, and I got this from someone who was a captain who worked with it, with the gyro compass system. Precession only happens when there isn't enough RPMs built up for the gyroscope within the gyro compass. So you don't have proper RPMs, precession happens. But the other part was, the reason it was precessing in that direction is because that's the spin of the motor goes in that direction. If you have the spin going the other way, it'll precess the other way. It's nonsense.
Yeah, mechanical gyro.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan will remember this one. Maybe some of the rest of you will remember it. Do you remember, what's the name of them? On the airplanes? Pendulous vanes.
Yeah, of course.
They're just a damper system for the gyroscope. That's all they were. But they were supposed to be leading the plane around the curve.
Well, Arwen did a cursory amount of research on this and was just like, no, it's for when they're in a sharp bank. And they need to correct the gyro because of the steep bank that they might be utilising if they're doing go-arounds, etc. But it didn't take much research.
No, literally within 15 minutes, you'd have all the information you need.
Yeah. But that's not what the Globers do, though, is it? They're not looking for an explanation for how it works. They're looking for confirmation bias of their argument that they've just been told.
Yeah, they're not looking for information. They're definitely looking for just confirmation, not information.
Yeah, confirmation bias towards their own fundy faith. So they won't look in the same way you look. They'll go to other fundies and say, how does this explain a debunk for globe, or a debunk for flat earth, rather?
I remember when I first heard you say share your pain. This describes it big time.
How?
I have some pain I'd like to share.
Go ahead.
How?
Owen, share your pain.
Well, I'm being rigged by YouTube. Really blatantly.
Being what by YouTube?
Rigged.
What does rigged mean?
Yesterday's show was really awesome. I was super fluid and I had a concise subject that's in the title. At the end of the show, I had 16 upvotes. Now it's 0. Just that one show. Not today's show, not the show before that. No, they just leave it. But when it's actually good, they rig it down to 0.
Okay.
Really pissed off.
Something else YouTube are doing is that when you're putting out a video. Sorry, go on, Ten.
No, I was going to answer Nathan's question. How you said, Nathan, share your pain, connecting, is they come on the show.
Just ignoring it? Okay, thanks. Yeah, just move on.
Ignoring it. I stopped my conversation to listen to it.
Yeah, we heard you, Arwen.
And then
I don't know what you... Hold on.
Yeah.
Do you want some acknowledgement? I'm really sorry that the show that you did is being fucked over by YouTube. There's not a great deal I can do about it, but I'm as pissed off as you.
Did you watch it?
Yesterday's show I did not. Today's I did.
Oh, well, watch yesterday's show because it was really good. And a real new reformed concept.
Okay. Be here or be sphere for Flat Earth Early Bird number
647, the meteoric helium cycle.
On the Arwin channel, ARWIJN. Be here or be sphere. Go ahead,
Thank
10th.
Okay. The road is clear. Thank you. So they come on the show because they're in pain, because their model is dying, and they are obfuscating fallacy arguments, misrepresentation, like Brian is talking. He just does a check for an hour and sees that, hey, this means that, not what you said. Same thing with Arwen's story. When he looked into it, found out it was because of a steep angle. So why did they come on the show? If the Earth was obviously a ball and they had it, they would be coming on the show. So they're here because they're in deep pain.
Yeah. We are that kid that's telling the father, look, it's going down. That's not very good. Remember that kid?
It's going down. Talking about a launch where there's some kid in the audience watching a rocket launch, and as it goes off into the distance, the kid pronounces with a fear tone in his voice, a scared tone in his voice, "It's going down, it's going down." They're like, nah. Just looks that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you just follow the behavior of these trolls, these in the trench ballers. It's just that. Who behaves that way? I mean, who does this? Does anybody on this panel do what they do to subjects out there?
People who behave like that are fundamentalist religious zealots, aka globe believers. Trench globe believers, not normies. It must be very painful for them. You know, they're stuck in a cult, denying the cult.
Well, I get it from normies when it gets to the point where I see them raise their voice with me or argue with me, but I know they're not a part of a show like me and hear the arguments on a daily basis. So then I hear the parroting of what their teachers told them rather than their own investigation, and having hours and hours of debate show the fruit of that subject. So I'll give you an example. I remember one time I was talking to a guy, everything was calm. So I bring up, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Still everything was calm. Then the answer came back from the person, well, you can't because you need a container for gas pressure. And the minute I linked that affirmation of how gas pressure is achieved to then how do you explain the air next to space, the atmo next to a vacuum of space, everything changed. But up until then, it was no problem with pressure needing containment. But the minute I linked it to right next to a vacuum of space that would fill the available space, raise of tone, argumentative, body language changed. It was amazing. So what is he defending? He just answered it properly, and now he's going to contradict his answer.
Yeah, as soon as he appreciates that it contradicts his fundamentalist worldview that the Earth's a sphere. He didn't realise it was a fundamentalist worldview until that moment. But in that instant, he took the blue pill and became a fundy.
Yeah. So compartmentalize, space and the Earth, sciences. They compartmentalize it, even in their head. So, yeah, from the space perspective, how that's supposed to work sort of works, not really, but it works in one way. And then you take the Earth things, and it's kind of different, Even mechanically, they arranged it slightly different. So then when you say, but how does it actually one tie into the other? It's right next to it, right? Yeah, then it all breaks apart, and that makes them really pissed off.
Yeah, but are they really arguing within the argument, or as I see with normies mostly, it's a pride issue? How can I be wrong and you teach me this now?
Yeah, that's always the bottom line. Not always, most of the time.
And all I'm doing is sharing. I'm not even trying to teach. I'm saying, hey, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? What about this? Next thing I know, this whole pride thing comes up. It's like, why? Hey, don't be so uptight. We're just talking. You already answered the question. You're bound to it. You said it can't be achieved without a container. So tell me, how's it working with the so-called outer space next to all this atmosphere, begging the question, sphere? Boom.
You know what's really...
The endless vastness of space.
Go on, whoever it was in
endless.
Discord. Don't be shy. Maybe not. Go ahead, Arwin.
I think that was me about to talk.
Okay, sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
I didn't know if it was me or someone else. Yeah, I'm just saying, you know what's really after not helping out the borders? You think that they would get some kind of support from Scientology against us, wouldn't you? But Scientology are really avoiding us.
Yeah, spot on. I look at it the other way around, which is why haven't we got more grief from the Scientologists? Because the Scientology is based in heliocentrism. The heart of Scientology is heliocentric. Now, most people ridicule Scientologists as being some sort of far-fetched, nonsensical religious belief, not realising that it's only a quarter step away from heliocentrism, and the fundamental principles of Scientology are heliocentric.
Yeah, yeah. They just avoid us.
Too busy with the Archons. Not much challenge from Discord today. Quite a few people in there.
Yeah, very quiet.
I like it.
Well, we got a lot of subjects talked about. It was nice to hear Brian go into detail on some and Arwen on some others. It was good.
Indeed.
Yeah, how about that helium meteoric cycle?
You want to plug your show again?
Yes,
I was just about to round out, getting myself lined up on camera. Go ahead.
Show for the next month every day, everywhere I go, because fuck YouTube.
Try and do a clean plug.
Are not necessarily shared with the show host, but I don't give a shit.
Just give a clean plug for it. Feel free.
But you are the show host.
On my show.
Sacrilege. Don't interrupt a plug.
Yeah. No, but I had a really interesting idea.
Plug.
It was about the helium, the helium that's out there. You know, gas at no point goes down, goes boom, boom. Right? I think we well established that. And there has to be containment because there is gas pressure. So yeah, we got some very low density types of gases that go upward. But yeah, what's going to happen with those gases? Because if they just stay those gases and they don't transform into another type of material somehow, it's going to pile up there, right? Now, hydrogen can technically react pretty easily. So we can easily imagine, okay, that might somehow change and then transform into something to go down, you know, without too much energy from the outside even. But helium is a problem because it's a noble gas. It doesn't really react to anything. So what's happening? Well, we got a realm, it's contained, and helium is also being released and produced from ground level. So why is the entire realm not filled with 99.9% helium that has built up over the last few thousand years? Well, I have only one explanation. There must be a natural cycle that somehow changes helium into something else and recycles it. And it's probably really high up.
What's the sun claimed to be? Just out of interest.
A luminary
ball of helium and hydrogen, 93 million miles away.
Big ball of what now?
Luminary.
Helium and hydrogen.
Gas.
It's a big ball of
Using
luminary.
gravity,
That's what it is.
Fuses these elements together.
Helium.
And when these elements are fused together, photons are released in the form of radiation, which keeps the star's core stable.
So the heliocentric assertion is that
so
it's
that's a really
burning...
nice heliocentric explanation, but how about the
Actually,
really...
the sun is a good example of a gas pressure without a container.
No, it's begging the question, fellas. So you can't have the sun being a ball of gas in a violation of the law of nature that it is entropy, because it would fill the availability of volume. I'm just asserting that it's interesting that Arwen's supposition is that there must be some sort of cycle with helium, and I'm casually going, no, they claim the sun is helium.
Helium and hydrogen.
Well, technically, the sun is supposed to be hydrogen, because helium doesn't burn. You know, helium doesn't burn. But it might be able to transmutate somehow, and it'll probably take a lot of electricity. That's the only thing that I even know can cause direct transmutation effects besides, I don't know, weird pressure alterations in gases. It's very odd.
Indeed.
So
I like
maybe.
Hold on, Brian. Arwen, can you plug your show? Give the show number, your channel name.
Right, yeah. ARWIGN channel. It's the Flat Earth Early Bird Show number 647, the meteoric helium cycle. Because my suggestion basically is, well, there is metallic rocks falling down for some reason, right? There's not just falling stars, lights. No, there's also rocks. So what is that? Well, there's helium going up. It's not permanently building. There's not helium rising over the ages. So maybe the helium is somehow transformed into meteoric metallic sediment. and how that works, and what the options are, and how that could form, I lay that fully out in the show.
Okay.
So,
thank you very much. I'm now interested in the guy
Okay.
in Discord. Is it Commander? Because you made the same mistake that Thunderfoot made.
What mistake was that?
Well, to point at your fundamentalist religious belief about what the lights in the sky are and claim that's proof of a violation of natural law.
It isn't though, is it?
No, it's not. No, you pointing at the light and saying it's a burning ball of gas in a vacuum doesn't prove
Do you
the
know
sky
what
is a
light
vacuum.
is? Do you know what light actually is?
I know that the lights in the sky wouldn't be a burning ball of gas in a sky vacuum, and that assertion, which is actually a fundamentalist religious belief, doesn't prove that the sky is a vacuum. It's merely a begging the question fallacy. I believe that light is a burning ball of gas in a vacuum. Well, what do you know? That proves my belief in a sky vacuum. No, it doesn't. It's just begging the question. But Thunderfoot did the same thing, which I thought was quite amusing. Yeah, just a begging the question fallacy. Your assumption that those lights are burning balls of gas in a vacuum doesn't prove a vacuum.
Yeah, but again, you don't even know what the fuck light is.
You eat your mic and swear at me while I pummel your begging the question fallacy that those lights are burning balls of gas in a vacuum, and that somehow proves a vacuum. No, it doesn't, mate. But you enjoy the taste of my salty nuts as I teabag you.
Please, again, Nathan.
Yeah, suck my balls. Your assumption that the lights in the sky are burning balls of gas in a vacuum doesn't prove your fundamentalist religious assertion that the sky is a vacuum. Just makes you a moron with a flat earther laughing at you and teabagging you. For an audience, that's what's actually happening. Enjoy the aftertaste.
How is light released then? How is light released?
Why are you asking me about light? Your begging the question fallacy doesn't prove the sky vacuum. It's just you being a moron using fallacy.
You sure? You sure?
Yeah, I'm certain. I'm a flat earther, certain, so certain that I'm really, really overt about calling you a moron. You moron. You think that assuming the lights in the sky are burning balls of gas in a vacuum proves a vacuum? What a moron! Me, flat earther, telling you, moron, how moronic you are with examples using your words. Like Thunderfoot, another moron. Yeah, enjoy the taste of my nuts. I'm sure you can discuss them with Thunderfoot. The salt level.
You haven't.
Yeah. Laugh it up, Thundy. You assume the lights in the sky are burning balls of gas to prove that you've got a sky vacuum. That is beyond moronic. And I really enjoy telling you that as a flat earther.
I know you've got no, actual qualification.
Don't insult me or ad hom me as I teabag you. Yeah, I'll just gag you with my nuts. That's what I'll do. Your fundy belief in a sky vacuum with burning balls of gas in it doesn't prove a sky vacuum, moron.
What? Okay.
Well,
Yeah, stutter for me.
Is this the guy that?
What do we? Tell me.
You could have
Nathan,
gas pressure
what do we know
without a
about?
container.
What do we know about
that
the sun?
happened yet?
There you go, chocolate.
What do we know about? What do we know about the sun?
I said
Nathan?
Nothing.
So was this the guy that?
We know
proved that
nothing.
We could have
we know
gas
that
pressure without
we
a
don't
container?
know that
'Cause I
it
didn't
emits
know that
light.
happened
We
yet.
don't know that light's an electromagnetic wave. We don't know that. We don't know anything at all.
You said about the sun.
Commander, what we do know is you can't have gas in outer space in a vacuum. That's what we do know.
But we do. We can know that.
We do, I
sun-
assume it.
Prove it.
Right? You assume it? You assume those lights are burning balls of gas, right? To prove it? Yeah, that's what I pummeled you with. You're just too stupid to listen. Yeah, like all thickos that come here, well, I point out that you begged the question and just assumed that the lights are burning balls of gas in a vacuum, and then said, what do you know, that actually proves it's a vacuum. That makes you a stupid idiot.
Even without a container, particles of gas in a vacuum could create pressure, since their collisions with each other could result in forces being exerted on areas. The area would be the surfaces of the particles being collided with.
And
You
how many
You're a
particles?
moron.
You don't need.
Wow.
You're a
Wow.
moron.
for
that
pressure
sounds
to
like a
exist.
science fiction
What's
intro.
second law of thermodynamics?
No idea, quantum array. So
Yeah, we could tell you friggin' clown. Shut the
Okay.
fuck up.
By the way, can I just say I heard your music.
And by the way, they're not electromagnetic waves either. You dipshit. Photons are neither electric nor magnetic. You're a clown. You're done here. Bye.
He's a troll. He's been here a few times the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no Willie.
Yeah, he trolls 24/7 and comes right here to troll us. It's hilarious.
What is light again?
I knew it. I was just waiting for that.
It's a wave in the ether.
No, it's not.
Just kidding, John.
Light's not a wave.
I know.
Photons.
I'm just fucking with you.
Thanks. That's just what I need.
No.
Anything else?
Hey, who?
Yeah,
Yes.
what is the second law of thermodynamics?
I asked them.
No, I ask you.
Fuck off.
That's Chucky. AKA Beavis. Hey, Beavis.
Speaking of trolls,
Chucky, you know what it is. You've been here a while. Why don't you tell us?
He doesn't know.
Well, he's assuming.
That's why he asked. Don't you get it?
He wants us to
No.
describe it in
What do you
detail.
think I'm doing?
So as soon as we've finished, he can say, yeah, that's what I told you. That's what they do.
Hey, Chaiki, would you like us to tell you how you could prove gravity?
He's muted.
He's not muted. I've just unmuted him.
Curie brought the second law, so I'm asking him. What does it say? What is...
QE brought it up with a question, so I'm asking him.
wow.
Well, since QE's not here, Chucky, he went the way of entropy.
I think he is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's here.
Chucky,
You
what's
cannot-
entropy?
Why did I say something about entropy? Did you ask me?
I'm
You asked-
asking
you asked
you a
QE
question.
to-
I didn't say you said it.
I'm sick of it. This is going to go downhill quick. No, let's just mute him. He's just moronic.
He is moronic. My
I took
goodness.
him off mute.
I guess he doesn't
say it.
associate entropy with the second law anymore.
I didn't say anything about entropy. I didn't say you did. It
That's
is
the
not
kind of
two mo-
conversation we get out of Chaiki. You didn't ask about entropy. No, I asked about entropy. Yeah, that's why I'm getting you to define it. But I asked you to define it. Well, I'm asking you because you asked it. That's the kind of conversation you get out of him. It's moronic.
Didn't he ask about the second law of thermodynamics?
Yeah, let's keep it up with a higher pitch, right, Chocolate? No, thanks. We just took him out of the conversation.
I had to, because, bro, I didn't say anything about entropy, but you just asked about the second law of thermodynamics. Wow.
Well, he can't make the connection. So let's go down the list. I heard Ed Freeze make a comment. Ed Freeze, what's the second law of thermodynamics? Please, I want you to post the equation and then a brief description here for us. Yeah, you don't care. Right.
Probably best not to be.
Right.
Best not to be too concerned.
Irrelevant.
Go on, Chocolate.
No, his other answer. It's irrelevant.
Yeah. I don't care. Right. And it's irrelevant. That's his game.
Here, let me ask him a
Why
practical
don't-
question. Maybe this
Then
will
you
help.
tell us.
Can a
Look,
balloon under
wow.
pressure
Hey,
do work?
but it's just done the same thing, Paul.
Oh, go ahead.
You tell us.
You tell me.
Yeah, you tell me. You tell
And
me.
Did you
Hey, make
figure out which
sure-
way your globe is spinning at? Because
Hey,
you hadn't figured
hey,
it out
make
yet,
sure.
like 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh God. Make sure that the policy is being adhered to. It's not just the universal law of gravitation. That is all the laws of Newton and the law of gravitation are replaced by Einstein. So not just the law of universal gravitation, the debunk law, by the way, but all the laws. That's the 3 laws of motion, all of Newtonian mechanics, all of it. Done.
What's Einstein's law of motion?
You tell us.
You said it.
You
was
tell
replaced.
us.
You tell us.
Burden of proof reversal fallacy. That's your claim, not ours.
No, I'm asking.
Well, it's your
I'm
claim.
asking.
You tell us. It's your claim.
Yep.
You don't know your own
You
model
made the
again.
claim, QE.
Oh, sorry, my bad. QE claims gravity. No, he doesn't, you moron.
No, he claimed all of Newton's laws were superseded. So what's Einstein's law of motion?
I didn't claim that. That's your pseudoscience priest claiming that.
Yeah, we're telling you what your rhetoric is. You don't really understand what's happening. What's happening is we're explaining to you, the opponent, what your rhetoric is because you don't know it. It's embarrassing.
Yep.
It is embarrassing for you, Ed.
Right, so
That's a
point
damn
out
shame.
Einstein's law of motion.
That's not my problem.
Yeah, we get that we know more about Einstein than you do. Yeah, we know, and we could tell you. But the reality is it's your claim, not ours. How many times?
Ed, the whole point is
Then tell
none
us,
of us believe this
Professor.
shit. This is your crap story that you have to deal with. Okay? Thanks.
Yeah, we only
Surprisingly-
learn about it to be
You
able to
made the
refute
claim.
it more perfectly.
The people who
Make sure
tend
you start. You got to start brushing up on your tensor calculus. We'll get back to you tomorrow.
tends to be the case that
So,
No.
the people who are winning not only know their own argument like the back of their hand, they know their opponent's argument like the back of their hand. So, yeah, we do understand how this nonsense bullshit we don't claim called gravity functions in your nonsense bullshit paradigm. The fact that you don't know it is what we're pointing out when we ask you to define it, given that it's your claim. So it doesn't require a challenge for us to define your claim. Do you get it?
No, he doesn't.
what's Einstein's
See,
law
he'll,
of
he'll
motion?
keep
please?
going, right? Because he's fucked.
Because you don't know.
You're fucked.
Oh, we don't
It's
know.
not my problem to know. It's your bullshit.
Yeah, it doesn't get it.
You made the claim it's
Yes,
superseded.
I did. Right here. It says.
Projecting ad.
And
Right.
I just posted it in live stream at 56 minutes after the hour. We're going to go through all three again. From your alma mater wiki, Newton's classical mechanics were superseded in the early 20th century when Albert Einstein developed the special and general theory of relativity. From Professor Jacob D. Bekenstein, Caltech. Einstein also replaced the Newtonian law of motion by the statement that free test particles move along geodesics, the shortest curves in space-time geometry. And finally, from Phys Libre text, Professor of Physics Douglas Klein. Newton's two crowning achievements, listen up, the laws of motion and the laws of gravitation that had reigned supreme since published in the Principia in 1687, were toppled from the throne by Einstein. End of citation. Now, what is the law of motion according to Einstein, Ed? No, you tell me. This is your priest. You got to know it.
You're the one who quote
Quote mine.
so
What's
tell
quote
me
mining?
What you just
Oh,
did.
that's a bit circular, don't you think, Ed? You friggin' basil fucking clown. You don't even know what quote mining is. Did you read this document? No. Then how could you claim it's
Waiting for the law.
The law you don't know.
Still waiting for
I'm
the
just
law.
charging. Yeah, he's a bank robber.
Yeah,
Fucking Ed, he's a bank robber, man.
called a baseless assertion fallacy. With that, I'm going to round out and say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.